Welcome to another marvelous episode of College Football Nation, hosted by me, Lever KT, aka the Governor of College Football, and we have quite a bit to talk about today. If you've never seen this show before, below me is the play clock. Each segment, it's 10 segments. I got 3 minutes each segment. Sometimes I'll go into overtime. It's just natural. And then to the right of me, it's called my rundown, where, each and every segment we're going to go over. Before I get into this segment today, and I'm killing my time already, I want to say thank you to everybody who's been supporting the show. We see that the viewership numbers is up. Even on the video I uploaded, the viewership on that has been outstanding. So I just wanted to shout you all out. Before we get into today's show, so Portal Tracker, pretty much up until the 16th, we'll probably kick off each episode with this portal tracker. Some new interesting people have entered the portal, and I think we must talk about it. We got Amari Odom, a guy that we seen at Kennesaw State this year quite a bit. We have full season credentials there, and a few times that I did go to Atlanta this season, I made sure absolutely that we went to Kennesaw State, and he's entering the transfer portal. Penn State defensive back A.J. Harris has also entered the transfer portal, which is really interesting. I'm interested to see what where does he want to go? Like, does he want to stay in the Big Ten, maybe go to like a Michigan, maybe go to an Ohio State, or will he take a flyer on going to Blacksburg and going to go play for James Franklin again, especially with Brent Pry being a defense coordinator there? And we're going to talk a little bit about that later. Also, Kansas State linebacker Austin Romaine has entered the transfer portal as well. I remember us talking about him before the season started, especially prior to week 0. And we was looking at him as one of the players to watch heading into that game when Kansas State faced Iowa State over there in Dublin. Just interesting. It's been quite a few teams that didn't have the years that we expected them to have this year. Clemson being one of them. Penn State, of course, being another one of them. Baylor, for me, I was all in on Baylor. I knew that there will be a different team that won the Big 12 this year. I know that Texas Tech was a really good guess just because of the amount of money they was willing to spend in the transfer portal. But I was looking at, the roster construction, looking at the pieces they was able to retain. And I was hoping that they play a little bit of defense. They just didn't. Tennessee running back Peyton Lewis is entering the transfer portal. He's another one. Me and my dog Moon was talking about this earlier. I truly believe that he is on Virginia Tech watch list. I truly believe that, and it'll be interesting if they're able to bring them in. South Carolina quarterback Noland has entered the transfer portal, and tonight we're kind of doing a back to back. I'm doing this show from 6:30 to 7, maybe 7:05 ish. And then we're going back live again with Overreaction Monday with me, my dog D now, my dog CFP Moon. And we're going to talk about fits, the best fits for some of these. And I'll talk about a little bit of them here today. Won't get into great depth of it because we'll be talking about that a little bit later on that show. Aaron Noland is going to be an interesting piece. I think that a lot of times what you get with some of these players is, they want to go to a bigger school. They want to play in the SECs of the world. They want to play in the Big Tens of the world, or even like the ACC and Big 12. The best route for him may be a G5 route or a lower level, ACC team or Big 12 team. And that's not a knock on him at all. Somewhere where he's given an opportunity to play, because kid got a tremendous amount of talent. It's just difficult because he went to South Carolina with the thought that Lenore Sellers will be entering the NFL draft this year. So he wanted to learn the system. Of course, make sure you look out for how they bring in somebody else. And then linebacker from Oklahoma, McKinzie, has also entered the transfer portal. I'm definitely over time already. Let's go ahead and try to fix some of this on these next few segments. We got Notre Dame in the college football playoff. And in short, this thing really pissed me the hell off. When I tell you this thing pissed me off, it pissed me off like no other. And I hate the fact that this is where we're at with college football. We know that this sport has always been kind of a political-driven sport. We knew that. We understood that, and we dealt with it. It is what it is. Like, we know when it comes to college football, those weeks that we get during the regular season, no other sport can compete with that. No, they really can't. They can't, because the pursuit of perfection is real in this sport. You can't go 500 or have a losing record like you can have in the NBA, or you can have even in MLB, or you can have in the NFL and make the playoff. That's not happening with this sport. We see really good teams go 9-3 or 10-2 and not make the playoff. That's just the nature of the sport. But we know that there's some semantics of the sport. We know we need a commission. We know we need a commissioner. But the fact of the matter is this agreement is so messed up. It's so messed up on plenty levels, and I do kind of get Notre Dame's gripe, like, hey, we played an outstanding tough schedule, right? And if strength of schedule was one of the key metrics, why weren't we in the college football playoff field? And, of course, everybody's talking the G5, and we definitely have a G5 dilemma, and we'll talk about that in great detail a little bit later. But, I understood. I was with them 100%. I understood why they did not want to play a bowl game. I got it. I supported them 100%. Notre Dame getting a here damn gift next year. My dog Canes is back in the building. He's 3 for 3. Shout out to my dog. Yeah, they definitely get the here. Damn, there you go. Because they got an easier schedule next year. And USC not even playing them next year. So, yeah, 100%. I agree with you, Canes. So, we look at this, and the CFP just says, well, they reached an agreement that if they're in the top 12, they're automatically in the playoff. So if that was the count for the stipulations that we had this year, Miami won a head-to-head game, and if it was between those two programs, then Notre Dame would have got in over Miami. Why don't we have an issue with this? This is so messed up in a sport that is so pure. There's a lot of politics. There's a lot of semantics that really mess this sport up, and it's terrible, bro. Like, Notre Dame want a cookie. Like, if you want to play with the elites, why don't you go compete in a conference like you do it in all your other 22 sports? Like, go compete in a conference and try to win a conference championship. Maybe you'll have a little bit more respect. But you're sitting here playing the games you want to play. You know, you're on national TV every week. And I get it. You're one of the biggest brands in the sport, one of the best jobs you can have in all the, football-based sports. Like, bro, why? This is backhanded to me. I don't like that. CFP, y'all clowns for this. And the only way that I think this can be combated is if the CFP refuses to put them over 13, bro. Because I was looking at their schedule earlier, and I'm telling you, they're going to have pretty much an easy road. And shout out to the team we're going to talk about next, because they really... they understood the assignment, and they passed the assignment with flying colors, and I'm so glad that USC chose to handle things the way that they're handling things. Speaking of which, USC said, hell no, we won't go to Notre Dame. So they had this rivalry scheduled. This has been one of those prestigious rivalries, great rivalry, and, this rivalry dates back. You think of some of the Heisman winners that played in some of these matchups, and USC says no. You are not going to say, hey, if we're one of the top 12 teams, we going to the CFP. Let's say USC is in that top 12, and then you comparing resumes, and the game that mattered was a USC versus Notre Dame game. This is dumb. What in the hell are we doing? Seriously, what are we doing? So I don't blame USC. I'm sorry. Lincoln Riley, I couldn't be more proud of you, brother. I don't know if this was your call, if it was a university call. I'm not sure who call was it, but I could be more proud of USC this year. And it's funny, too, on my show, Governor College Football, on YouTube, at Governor College Football, one of the things I discussed in great detail was my fanfare with USC. I think every week that I did game previews, USC was probably in there if they were playing that week. So I already had great admiration for the program. And, them being competitive this year, I think, was important. When you look at Lincoln Riley's overall, impact of what his contributions to the sport, I think you saw some great developments with USC this year. So I think they looking at this Notre Dame thing and say, nah, bro, we not playing, y'all. Y'all got these automatic qualifier things. You don't play in a conference. We play in a conference. USC looking like, damn, bro, we got to play Oregon, or we might got to play Notre Dame like they did this year, or we might got to play in Ohio State. We might got to go play Michigan. PJ Fleck in Minnesota is always tough. We got to play Nebraska in Lincoln. Why the hell will we continue to play this schedule and then schedule you as our, non-con power game just because we have a great tradition? What you did was a backhanded move. The college football playoff, y'all are weak, bro. Y'all are so weak. I can't believe y'all agreed to something this wild. There's no way in the world, there's no way in God's green earth you would agree to something like that. Or if they're in the top 12, they're automatically guaranteed. That's stupid, because you don't even know what the season is going to look like. You don't even know who's head-to-head. Every year in the Big 12, it seems we have a different winner. Last year, Arizona State came surging out of nowhere. This year, Texas Tech, we kind of had an idea with the money that they spent via the portal. But damn, we didn't know that they would really come here and take claim this year. BYU's been good both of those years. I thought Baylor was going to be outstanding, and they wasn't. And the ACC is the same thing. Duke won the ACC with a 7-5 regular season record. They won the SEC with a 75 regular season record. We don't know what that looks like, because the parity in this sport is actually closing, and it's closer than people think. And it's just crazy to me that they reached an agreement with the CFP, bro. Like, they gave them a cookie, bro. I don't like that, bro. But shout out to USC for standing up and doing what's right. Let's move on to our next segment. Alrighty, we got Petrino. He's going to North Carolina. He's going to be the offensive coordinator there. And this is interesting. Nino and I did a segment back in the beginning of 2023. I think this is before or after we went to the Senior Bowl. And we had this conversation. Actually, it was the beginning of 2024. And we had this discussion on college football is slowly becoming no country for old men. That's the how we was looking at it. We were looking at how the game is getting younger and younger. You're seeing like these stud offensive coordinators, defensive coordinators that are under the age of 40, and we got kind of what's going on in Tar Heel country right now in Chapel Hill is kind of the opposite of that. You got Bill Belichick, proven NFL track record. This year, there were times they were competitive and you could see, all right, but there was other times like the TCU game, and there were some other games there too where they just weren't really competitive at all, to be honest with you. So I wonder what this looks like in the ACC. Bobby Petrino's a guy I'm actually a fan of. I just think he got a raw deal when he was a coordinator at Texas A&M, and then you had him and Jimbo Fisher, and you're like, yo, the game is starting to get ahead of them. And then what happened in Fayetteville this year was really interesting because I believe that Petrino was placed in a compromising position. And I say that because I have a great respect for Sam Pittman. Arkansas, the brass there, the donors, the boosters, whoever you want to put onus or the blame on, the AD even came out and said this, did not give Sam Pittman enough resources to compete with some of these teams in the SEC. We seen almost overnight that team in Nashville become better. It happened almost overnight where you see that team just like, wow, Barton Simmons, Clark Lee is building something special here. Like you seen it almost overnight. And so we see the situation happen with Sam Pittman, and the reason I say Bobby Petrino was put in a compromising position because it looked like he lined them. Like, he looked like he was ready for this. Oh, this is about to be my second opportunity at Arkansas. And I think he realized even with some of the changes he was able to, fire the defense coordinator almost ASAP. He said, listen, I'll be the bad guy. Who do you guys want gone? I'll take care of it, and let's get some wins, and hopefully we can be bowl eligible so you guys can see, hey, I'm the king of Fayetteville, and I should be the head coach here. It just didn't work out that way. It didn't work out in that facet. So him going to North Carolina, playing in the ACC is wide open. ACC and Big 12 are wide open. We're actually going to do an ACC 2026 outlook at the end of the segment. So to fit all of that into 3 minutes, it's going to be crazy at the end of the show, not at the end of the segment. So Petrino to UNC, I wonder what that looks like. I wonder what the relationship is. I'm sure there's mutual respect between Bill Belichick and Bobby Petrino. But at the end of the day, if things aren't going right, we know Bill Belichick holds no cards, and he will call you out if you aren't doing your job. So let's move on to the next segment. We got Nico Iamaleava. He's staying at UCLA this upcoming season. I think it's a great spot for him. I'm interested to see what it looks like. Bob Chesney, of course, got his quarterback. Now he can focus on building the rest of their roster. We talk to a lot of coaches in the offseason, so if you don't follow us, make sure you subscribe. I'm telling you, during the media day cycle, we got you covered. We went to 3 media days. We was live, and you guys got to see everything live. Sometimes we didn't even know who was coming up and was about to be interviewed, or they may send a mascot. You just never knew. So make sure we plan on upping that, going to like 4 or 5. But also, we plan on doing some special docuseries this year as well. And one of the things that always stick with me is I had a conversation with FAU. This was at American Media Coach, head coach, Zach Kitley, and we also went down there to visit them during fall camp as well. So shout out to him, shout out to SID there. Really good people. And then talking to Zach Kitley, you kind of get the grasp of what it's like to coach year one college football, because these players that are coming in are natural players. They're not at all. So what you hope you can do is at the university you were at, maybe you could pull a Kirk Cignetti and take some of those players from JMU with you, and hopefully Bob Chesney is able to do the same. But then you got to hit this window fast. You got National Signing Day coming up. We just passed early signing day, and he was wearing 2 hats. And I thought to put him behind the 8 ball. I don't like when coaches do that. If you get hired by a bigger university, no disrespect to your old school, get there and get the work done, because you have to do it fast. We see Indiana is building their roster. They're constructing their roster through the portal until they start to get in the players that they want and start to develop them. That's the way it works. And that's what Zach Kitley said. The moment that he got to Paradise, he said it was time to get to work. He said, because Caden Feldkamp knew the system, he was able to teach the system to players while he was out there recruiting and trying to bring in all the players he could bring in. And that was so pivotal to me, and that really stuck to me. So now I'm looking at Bob Chesney and say, okay, I got my quarterback situated. Now we need to find ways to protect them. Now let's get the pieces around them so we can be a formidable opponent in 2026. So shout out to Nico. I'm happy for him. We think about late portal window around April 12th of this past year and the fiasco that went on between him and Tennessee. And I'm happy. I think this is a good situation for him. But Bob Chesney's got his work cut out for him. And hopefully UCLA, whatever admin issues that they have and as it pertains to getting the players that they need in the building for sports, they don't seem to have as much funding as they should. With a prestigious university like UCLA, it doesn't make sense. Somebody is getting the money. That's how I feel about that. So Nico's ready for 2026. Bob Chesney, I already know you're working. It's time to hit that recruiting trail and get these players in that you need them. All right, let's move on to the next segment. We're going to talk about some of the best fits in the portal. Just looking at some of these dudes and really just try to figure out what is a good fit for you, what's probably a poor fit for you, and what quarterbacks probably think that they're going to go to a higher level school will probably be better fits at a lower level school, if that makes sense. So this is how I think the needle will move. I think this portal season will be controlled by two schools. Whatever happens with Dante Moore, if he decides to go to the NFL or not, I don't believe he's addressed that. He's still in the college football playoff, so he'll deal with that whenever their season is over with. And hopefully it ends in the national championship. But Indiana, I think, is pivotal. The reason I believe Indiana is pivotal, because look at what Kirk Signetti was able to do. Elijah Surratt was at JMU with him. Hey, bro, you got a lot of talent. And yeah, you could ball here, but come with me and I'll put you on a big stage. Right? And then he was able to go get a guy from Ohio whose brother's a CFL legend and Curtis Rourke and say, hey, I think you in our system with Tino Sinceri as our passing game coordinator who moved on with the UCLA, and that was a debacle. But Mike Shanahan is our offensive coordinator. We can get you to where you have a high completion percentage. You're going to have the ability to throw a lot of touchdowns, and your dual threat ability will shine in this offense. He was able to do that year one. And if you kind of look at Kirk Signetti and Jeff Brom and their approach, wow, that is amazing. We just got some interesting news. I think that's a great fit. I think he does need to go, and me and Moon was talking about that. I've also been hearing Baylor Canes as a possible place as well, but he says he's been hearing that like with the Clemson. I think that's a good fit for him. I think this year will be a different year for Dabo Swinney. The reason I said that is because last year, had the best return of production in the country, and they definitely didn't portray that, right? And his inability to use the portal now, I think the higher-ups going to say, bro, you better use the portal or you're going to get left behind. This is where we at. We let you do it your way. Now you need to try it our way. And, yes, I would love if DJ Lagway went there because he would get the development that he needed and the nourishment that he needed. But also, I think he needs more of a disciplinarian as a head coach that's going to hold him accountable for those bad passes as well. But back to the portal, when I look at this situation, I look at this as what Oregon does, what Indiana does, what Indiana does first. Because I think the first domino falls with Indiana. Hey, I'm Kirk Signetti. You've seen the last two regular seasons. I've went, cumulatively, what'd he go? Like 25-1? Or whatever his record was. Maybe it was 2 losses. I went here. Mike Shanahan is my offensive coordinator. You see last year, Fernando Mendoza from Cal. He won the Heisman, right? So I'm interested to see where that falls. So would they be more interested in somebody like a Josh Hoover, right? Incredible passer. We got to interview him at Big 12 Media Days this year. Would they be interested in somebody like a Brendan Sorsby? And whoever getting Brendan Sorsby, getting a hell of a quarterback and a hell of a dual threat quarterback. Would they be interested in somebody like a Dylan Raiola who's used to playing in the Big Ten as well? So I think that first domino is kind of going to decide, hey, where does everybody else fall? And make sure you guys stay tuned, 7:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're going live, and we're going to talk about this more in great detail. I only get 3 minutes, so let's get to the next one. And the next thing we're going to talk about is the G5 dilemma. And I think we are at that point where many people in the media are really upset at the showings that the Group of 5 had in the college football playoff in round 1. And I don't think this is a G5 issue, right? At least from ground level, I don't think it's a G5 issue. G5 doesn't have a playoff. And if you've been watching the show, I'm a huge fan of a G5 playoff. I think that's where we get started first. G5 level needs to have a playoff. I know everybody doesn't agree with that, but I think it's a way where you can make the bowl games that they're playing in that more important because you're fighting for a championship. FCS got a championship. They ain't trying to compete for our championship here, right? HBCU got their own championship in the Celebration Bowl. I think Group of 5 playoff is where this thing needs to start. But also, the same people who are crying about G5 being in the playoff, well, damn, go blame Duke. Go blame Miami. Blame the ACC. That's who you need to be blaming. That's who you need to be frustrated with. Miami wins the ACC, then you only get one Group of 5 team in, and then Notre Dame is probably in, and then we all having a party and really happy with the first round games. But yeah, you want to place blame to someone, you want to place onus to someone, place that onus to the ACC, because that's who your problem is, 100%. It's the ACC. Make no doubt about it. The ACC is one of your biggest issues. But also, let's not pretend that G5 didn't have some success this year versus Power 4 schools. Tulane defeated Duke and Northwestern. Memphis defeated Arkansas in one of the best games of the year. And USF defeated Florida this year. Right? Let's not pretend that G5 didn't have some bump this year. What was going on in the American this past season? American, pound for pound, was one of the best conferences that I seen this year, top to bottom. When you say any given Saturday, Thursday, Tuesday, whatever, America, they play games, whatever, any of those teams could be beat. I remember when Tulane was red hot and UTSA put hands and feet on them. It was an embarrassment for the Tulane program. So, yes, I think we all see that structurally we do have some issues. Were we as engaged in the Ole Miss and Tulane game as we was engaged in the Miami and Texas A&M game or the Alabama and Oklahoma game? I would be a liar if I said, yes, I was engaged, with Ole Miss or Tulane or with, Oregon or JMU. I wasn't. But, that isn't a G5 issue. It's just a G5 dilemma. Hey, structurally, we have to change this system. But I think some of that starts with, hey, let's do a G5 playoff. Make some of these bowl games, like the Xbox Bowl, like the Gasparilla Bowl, like the 68 Ventura's Bowl. Make some of those bowl games a part of that G5 playoff. And I think that can fix some of the structural issues because I think it's important for the committee to feel like, hey, anybody can make the college football playoff, any of the 136. But the fact of the matter is, the 12 best teams need to be in the poll. That, in my opinion. The 12 best teams need to be in there, and it is what it is. All right, I'm starting to run behind on time. All right, let's talk about somebody I'm really, really proud of. James Franklin. What a job that he's done during his tenure in Blacksburg. And it's incredible to me because I've always said the best game day atmosphere I've been to is in Blacksburg at Lane Stadium. They credential us quite often. And I thought it was an outstanding hire. And I know I had some people disagree with me with it being an outstanding hire because they're comparing his success at Penn State, which he had a lot of success there. He was able to recruit really well. It was just getting over the hump and against really great teams. Well, in the ACC, he's not going to be dealing with that a lot, right? So I say, okay, boom. Let me pay attention to something. Before he's named hired, let me look at where their 2026 recruiting is. It's at 124. 124 was their recruiting. Where they recruiting at now? 24th in the nation. National Signing Day hasn't even happened yet. Also, we've just been credentialed for the All-American game down in Orlando, Florida, hosted by Under Armour. We're going to make it to that, and we're going to get you some behind-the-scenes access. But the fact of the matter is, James Franklin is doing an outstanding job. And then he did something that was probably the sneakiest move of the coaching carousel to retain Brent Pry, who was a former head coach. Do you know the humility that you have to come with to say, hey, man, me and my family about to move out. We about to go find another job. You say, no, I don't want you to go. We had success at Penn State. When you were my defensive coordinator there, why don't you be my defensive coordinator here? And he's able to stay there. His family's able to stay there. And I tell you, man, yes, best hire of the cycle, ACC, I agree with that 100%. Canes, you my dog, bro. You hear every episode. You my dog 100%, and I love your takes. Yes, absolutely. One of the best hires of the cycle. And then the fact he was able to get Brent Pry to stay. And then what I was about to say, Brent Pry is a coach I've got the outstanding opportunity to talk to a lot. I talked to him at ACC Media Days. I've talked to him when we went to Virginia Tech fall camp. And he's a coach, man. I don't think things didn't quite work out, and some of that was resources and Virginia Tech being willing to spend the money there. Now they're willing to spend the money. But he's a son of a coach. A lot of people don't know that. He worked his way up. He didn't just go off his pop's name. He's coached at every level. He really has. And at defensive coordinator, I think is where he's elite. Will he get another opportunity to coach as a head coach? He will. Because Virginia Tech is going to have some success. I guarantee you they have success. So shout out to James Franklin. Job well done, brother. And I can't wait to see what this looks like. Week 1, right? I'm going to, their first biggest game, I'm going to be there. I promise you that. So shout out to James Franklin. Job well done, brother. We are rooting for you. I tell you that. All right, let's talk about this ACC 2026 outlook. And there's some interesting pieces going here. I want to talk about Duke first. Let's start with Duke. I'm critical of a lot of teams. One of the teams I praised heading into the year was Duke, but I was disappointed with their output. Hey, they won the ACC championship, but I looked at what Manny Diaz was doing. I know things didn't work out for Manny Diaz when he was in the 305, but I felt like Durham could be successful. We saw Mike Elko really start to turn this thing into the right direction, and I thought Manny Diaz can build off of that. Well, he just got somebody that we were thinking that if he entered the portal would be a high commodity in Darian Mensah. He's not going pro. He's actually going to stay in Durham until next year. So I'm interested to see how does Duke build around that talent. Durham has plenty of money to throw around. You see them do it for basketball. If they do it and invest in football, it's going to be interesting. Georgia Tech has lost a lot of pieces. Not only has they lost and are going to lose a lot of pieces on their roster, they also lost some pieces in their staff. And I know my boy Moon, one thing about the people that are in CFB Nation is they're really critical of their team. So they're going to give me honest takes. He's not happy about next year. Canes should be big dogs next year. Canes, tell me who do you want as head coach? I'm sorry, not as head coach. Who do you want as your quarterback from the portal? The guys you see in the portal right now, who do you want as your quarterback? Let me know that. I know it's a little delay, so just let me know when you get to that. Florida State, what do they look like next year? Well, Mike Norvell on a hot seat. Cal, Tosh Lupoy is there now. What does Cal look like? I just talked about Virginia Tech a bunch, and this is a saying that I say a lot. Moon knows what it means when I said, and the statement is 50 is coming. And it's correlation to when Jay-Z told everybody at Rockefeller Records back in 2002, drop what y'all need to drop now, because when 50 drop, he's going to take over. He 100% told him that. So what do some of these programs in the ACC look like, right? North Carolina, they just hired Bobby Petrino. What does their offense look like this upcoming season? Clemson, I don't think we've ever seen this type of parity in the ACC, at least since Dabo Swinney's been there, because Clemson has been a big dog for a myriad of years. Me and my dog Keynes was talking about it earlier. He's not going to have a choice but to utilize the transfer portal. He's not going to have a choice. CJ Bailey, because he's the hometown kid. Hey, I love that. I remember how amped up he was to play you all. Didn't perform well, but CJ Bailey would be a good fit there. It wouldn't surprise me if you guys try to get a bigger fish, but he had some games this year where he really lit it up. I think it was against Georgia Tech? He let Georgia Tech the hell up this year. So I like that one. Hometown kid, homegrown in the 305. I like it. Wake Forest and Jake Dicker, watch them next year. They were really successful this year. And I think the parity that we have in this conference is going to be outstanding. I think if you ask 10 people who's going to win the ACC in 2026, I think you get 6 or 7 people to say Miami. But then those other 3 teams will be probably your upper team in the conference. And then as long as Jeff Brom stays at Louisville, because there's word he may go to Michigan, Louisville's going to be really good as well. So really leaving this last segment, we could talk about carousel talk. I think it's something interesting going on with Ohio State. Brian Hartline did take the job at South Florida. I know Ryan Day is probably going to do more play calling than he's done in recent memory. So it'll be interesting to see what that looks like there. It'll be really interesting to see. We still got some more places and spots that need to be filled. And one of the topics we want to talk about at 7:15 Eastern Standard Time is Michigan still an elite program? You remember back in the day, to be a Michigan man held great prestige, but is that still, they worked really hard the last 5 years to really tarnish the program. Yeah, they got a national championship in 2023, but is it still an elite program? Is it still a desirable program? If I'm Jeff Brown at Louisville, I'm home, I love what I built, and do I want to go to Michigan? Eli Drinkowitz, same thing. In Columbia, I love what I'm building. Is Michigan better than Missouri at this point in time? Jed Fisher's building something special, but I think if there's anybody who will leave, it will be Jed Fish, but is Ann Arbor more desirable than Seattle? These are some of the questions that I have as I talk about the carousel talk. And coaches continue to be moved around. You hear an offensive coordinator's being hired, like Bobby Petrino was just hired to North Carolina. But I think we're in an interesting phase of college football. I think we're about to see a great deal of parity There is some BS associated with it, and I'm still so upset about the Notre Dame thing. And I know Notre Dame fans are going to be upset with me, but it is what it is. I think if you really thought about it, like, yo, we need a handout now? Like, bro, join the conference. Ohio State, Penn State, Blue Mountain State, Canes by 30. That's my dog. Shout out to Canes, man. He shows up each and every episode, man. I really do appreciate it. I can't wait to talk about the games. I'm kind of going to save them for the Sunday episode, and I give you my prediction on them. I don't know if I go against the Canes again, because you warned me. You warned me 100%, and you said Canes is going to go down there and leverage them and beat them. I didn't know you guys weren't going to allow them to score a touchdown, man. But as I always like to say, there's no more victories in the sport that survive and advance. That's why college football has the greatest regular season. Until next time, I'll see you guys on the show. I know Thursday is Christmas, but, after I eat, I will come back home, prepare the show. I will be live Thursday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And just look out on the days that I'm not live. I will be uploading a segment from the show. But shout out to Canes, bro. He's here each and every episode. You all take care.